Recording. That's what it looks like. Hi guys, and welcome to recording episode 146. This morning we are going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about what to do. And welcome to recording episode 146. Sorry. This morning we are going to talk about, okay. Let's just close that page on YouTube so it doesn't accidentally play it again. All right, here are my notes for the episode. We're going to talk about how to get up in the morning when you don't feel like getting up in the morning. This is a question we got asked in the panel at Midwest CraftCon, and it's a good question, and I know we've all been there, so we're going to talk a little bit more about it. I'm going to put Instagram, I'm going to put you down, flip you back around. Hi. So Katie sent me this setup to clamp my phone to this actual table that I'm using, and then yeah, so I'm looking into it, Katie. I'm going to get it in the next week or two. And how to get dressed. I don't know if I can help with that, Leanne. I am not queen of getting dressed when I don't feel good. Or rather, I'm the queen of not getting dressed when I don't feel good. So I'm going to adjust myself a little bit. So my video, what I'm trying to do is try to make myself in 1/3 of the frame of the video that goes on YouTube, and also my eyes at, like, if you break up the screen in the 1/3 part, my head should be over like on 1/3 line this way, and then this way should be like my head. So that's why I'm often like moving things around. And let's see, on YouTube it doesn't matter as much, but I want to make sure that the video, okay, my part is just going to be crazy. Okay. You have that issue and you have a day job. I feel you. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to minimize you, and I'm going to open my notes, and then we're going to start recording. So today I'm recording Elevate Your Business with Jolie. It's the class we have going on live now. It's totally closed to new people, but we're recording that at 1. So this is all going to be over within a half hour. But when I'm done recording, it'll be a short episode. I'll stick around and answer your questions. So feel free to ask them. But while I'm recording, I can't answer your questions, and I can't actually look directly at you. I have to look at the camera for the episode. If you guys don't know, my podcast, Explore Your Enthusiasm, goes live every Wednesday, but I start recording it the week before so that then it can go through the process of being edited and made pretty. And yes, Leanne asked, is it live at 1 in Elevate? Yes. If you're a member of Elevate Your Business, you get an email every week that says we're going live at 1 o'clock Eastern time. We have it every Tuesday. It is Tuesday, right? Yes. And it usually takes about 2 hours. And then Jolie edits those videos. So by Friday, the edited version of the video is up. So if you are crunched for time, just wait till Friday and watch them in the chunks. She like chunks them out, and the Q&A is its own time. So we will get going. Is it possible to gift a patron subscription? Karen, go to patreon.com and search their FAQs. They will be able to tell you that. I'm pretty sure you can. Or you create a login and you give the login to your friend. So like you hook up your card and then you give it to a friend. That's what I'm thinking. You have your coffee ready. Okay, so let's get going. All right, get my energy up a little bit. It's a hard topic. So I did not listen to my my psych up music, which I usually do. I don't think I have time to start that. All right. So let's go. I'm going to hit record, and while I'm recording, I can't talk to you guys who are watching live, but I'll talk to you later. My ping's always like, okay, I'm having issues with them today, and I forgot to brush my hair right before we got started. I mean, I brushed it earlier today, but then I've been out in the wind. Okay, let's go. How does my computer like keep shifting to show what I don't want to show? It's just like a really ugly closet door over here. I don't want it to ever show up my video. Okay. Move myself a little bit over here, and let's get going. How do you get out of bed on the worst days when everything sucks and you're depressed or you're suffering from anxiety? How do you get yourself out of bed when you don't have a job that requires you to get up? Welcome to episode 146 of Explore Your Enthusiasm with me, Tara Swigert, and today we are talking about the unfun side of being self-employed or working for yourself or working for your own projects. This last weekend at Midwest Craft Con, I was on a panel about depression and anxiety. We did it early in the morning at like 9 a.m. on Sunday. And we each talked about our own experiences, about the stuff that doesn't help, about the stuff that does help. And you guys know I've talked about that before on the podcast. We will link up that episode about anxiety and depression in creative business. We'll link it up below, or you can just Google, Tara Swigert, anxiety and depression. It'll pop right up. So I was super nervous to talk about it in public. I've talked about it on the podcast, but I've not talked to real people in real life about it on that big of a scale. The room was pretty full. And we did a Q&A section at the end. And one of the questions that stuck with me and I've been thinking about is what gets you out of bed in the morning? And I wanted to share with you guys how I answered the question in the room. So I have two answers. The first, which is a very practical, and the second is a little more emotional. And then I'm going to give you the answers I gave, like what gets me out of bed, and then I'm going to turn it around and help you come up with your own answers to this question. So what gets you out of bed on a day when you're depressed or you're suffering anxiety or everything is awful? So the first caveat is that sometimes at the absolute worst of it, you just can't, right? Like nothing I say is going to help. And if you're in the middle of that right now, it can be annoying to hear somebody else talk about it. Like, just get out of bed. It'll be fine. That's the worst. So I just want to give you permission to be where you are and suggest that you talk to a doctor or a loved one. And if you are thinking, if you haven't been able to get out of bed for more than a week or two, you can call the suicide prevention hotline. There are several hotlines you can call if you're depressed. I will link them up in the show notes. But talk to somebody who loves you. Get on the phone with somebody who loves you and make an appointment with your doctor. Now, that said, if it is a morning, or you can feel yourself slipping into it. So I often experience the feeling that like it's coming, right? Or that I'm not waking up as enthusiastic as I would like to, or it's just a particularly hard day. Maybe it's the anniversary of something rough. Maybe I went to bed too late the night before. That's when this is going to help. If you've not been able to get out of bed for more than a couple days, and especially over a week or two, you need to get some help. This will not suffice. But if it's just sneaking up on you, or you just feel like more mornings are hard to get out of bed than most, this is for you. So I have two answers. The first is pretty practical, and that is I have the easiest time getting out of bed, even as I'm slipping into depression or my anxiety is getting bad, when I know exactly what I need to do for the first several hours. And not what I need to do, because need is like pressure, but when I have a plan for what I'm going to do with the first several hours of my day. So part of this is having routines, knowing that my routine is on the slowest days, I'm going to get up, make coffee, meditate, journal a little bit, and read. And then I'm going to start work. That's like a low-key day. When I'm feeling my best and when I really get into the flow, my morning routine is get up, put on my workout clothes, go work out, grab a coffee on my way home, meditate, read, journal, and then get a shower and then start work. But the problem is people think of that morning routine as being something you all have to figure out at once. Your morning routine can just be, I'm going to get up and drink my coffee and look at Instagram and then I'll start work. Okay. It can be whatever it is. You don't have to have all of the pieces. I've been working on this for the past couple years, so I have a couple more pieces because I know what works well for me. But that's just part of it. Part of it is knowing exactly what you're going to do when you get out of bed. The second part of it is knowing what you're going to do in your work for the rest of the day. So if I have a big, open, unclaimed day in front of me, I actually find it harder to get out of bed than when I know I have some commitments and responsibilities and things I need to work on for upcoming commitments and responsibilities. So this is why I'm a giant fan, and this is why I teach in my book, This is why I teach in my book, Map Your Business, to make a big list of everything it's going to take to reach your goal in the next 2 to 3 months. So this won't be a big list of everything you'll do for the rest of your life, but in the next 2 to 3 months. And then break that down into what you're going to do this month. And then each week, look at what are you going to do this week of that list of the things you're going to do this month. Pick a subset of them. And then each day, pick a subset of the list for the week. This is what I teach. This is what I do in my own planner. In fact, I'm going to upload a video about how I use my own planner sometime this week. You'll find it on YouTube, tarasweiger.com/YouTube, if that's not where you're watching this right now. I'll show you how I do that in my own planner, breaking it down. But literally, you can just take what I said and use it right now to break down what needs to be done for the week and then each day. So I'm a giant fan of doing that because what gets me out of bed is knowing what I'm going to do today. And if instead I only have the list of everything that needs to be done in my business in the next month, that's too overwhelming. That's also too vague. You can keep putting it off. Like people who say they have a real trouble with procrastination, I find that it's often just that they haven't chunked it down small enough. They're thinking, I'm not working on giant project X because they don't know really actually what are all the steps. They haven't broken it down into action steps to do. So that gets me out of the bed in the morning, knowing exactly what today I'm working on. And part of what I do, and I know people do this in different ways, but I kind of have days that are set for certain tasks. So Mondays tend to be my writing days. Tuesday are my recording days. I recorded this on a Tuesday. Wednesdays are my Starship chat days, where I am in a live chat with Starship captains, usually from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Not everybody's there the whole time. I'm there the whole time. And in between that, getting up to date on the Starship forums. And then at the end of the day, doing my emails. And then Thursday and Friday, I work on big projects or do some recording if there's more recording and I didn't get in it on Tuesday. Having that split up of my days means that when I open my eyes and I know what day of the week it is, I know what I'm going to work on. And I can usually find something in that to get excited about, enthusiastic about, and kind of get out of the bed. Now, I realized a couple months ago, after I went to the doctor and they put me on a medication, and the medication made me real fuzzy and then eventually led to real deep depression that was medicinally induced. As soon as I went off the medicine, it went away, which of course I didn't know at the time. But when I started feeling fuzzy, I immediately turned over most of the things in my business. I either stopped doing them, or like I reran past episodes of the podcast, or I turned them over to Jess and I told her how to check in on it and keep things running in the background. I just decided not to deal with it. And in doing so, I took all responsibility off my plate while I figured things out and started to feel better. But I realize now that didn't help. So everybody is different. Having too many commitments and pressures can make you feel overwhelmed. For me, having no commitments actually made it worse because I didn't have anything to do each day. So then I kind of didn't have anything getting me out of bed in the morning. I mean, other than my dogs and my love for my husband and the people I love, but I didn't have anything to do. And for me, knowing what I'm going to do is part of what will get me going because, okay, I actually care about that and I want to do it. This is why people who have day jobs, even when they're suffering deep depressions, still end up going to work because they know what they need to do. So I found for me, having absolutely nothing on my plate for the day is not a good thing. And by the way, you guys know I don't work on weekends. And if I do work on a weekend, like when I just worked, I was teaching Midwest CraftCon all weekend. On Monday was my day off. So it's not that I mean that I work every day. It's that I know what I'm going to do every day. So I had a couple things I knew I wanted to do around the house on Monday. On Saturdays, sometimes the thing I'm doing with my day is like laying on the couch and reading. And I know if you have small children, that's the most annoying thing to ever hear me say. But sometimes that's what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm taking the dogs to the park. Sometimes Jay and I are going to go to Asheville and go to a restaurant. So that's what I mean by knowing what you're going to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be work, but when it's literally nothing, there's nothing. I found that to be the opposite of motivating, for that in itself to be depressing. So knowing what I'm going to do when I get out of bed is the first part of my answer, and having something there. So I've decided, and I've actually talked to quite a few students about when they were going through a hard time, loosening up their commitments and their expectations of what they could get done in a day, but not giving themselves free rein to do absolute, to not commit to anything. Right. So I had one student who kept up an ongoing commitment each month, and she had plenty of time to work on it. She let go of a lot of the other things, but she kept this so she would have something to work on. Otherwise, you can feel, if you own your own business and you're working in your business, you can feel when you just let it all go that you kind of don't have a business anymore. And this is why Stacy and I created the class, Take a Break Without Breaking Your Business. We created that class because we know that whether it's maternity leave or it's sickness or it's depression, when you let go of all the tasks in your business, you often then just stop having a business and you never come back to them. So keeping some tasks, but narrowing in your focus, or letting go of a lot of things, but keeping some tasks there, can get you through hard times, even when the hard times is for a happy reason, like maternity leave. Now, the second thing that kept me going, and this I got all cry about on stage, so we'll see if I can hold it together, is I was thinking of you guys. I was thinking of my listeners, my readers, my students, and that's what got me out of bed many of the worst mornings, is the knowledge that I was learning something and developing empathy for something many of you struggle with. And knowing that if I kept going through it, I would come out the other end and be able to talk about it with you, and that I could create something from it. So knowing that it wasn't about me, and like, obviously it's about me in the moment, but like my long-term vision was to make it not about me, but to make it about helping other people who are going through it. And just, when I say helping, I just mean talk honestly and help them feel not alone. Like, I mean, I'm not a therapist and I'm not a researcher. I don't have answers, but I can help you know you're not the only one going through it. I remember that on many, many days. And if you were to read my journal through my worst days, which I don't recommend, you would find that I decided pretty soon after kind of realizing, what I've been dealing with for a long time is anxiety. I decided just a couple weeks after I first started dealing with it that it was something I was going to talk about on the podcast. I had no idea I would end up talking about it at conferences, but I decided I was going to talk about it on the podcast specifically because keeping it hidden felt like reinforcing the stigma that I was already feeling like internally, and that keeping it like something that I couldn't talk about would basically be saying to all the people who have talked to me about it over the years, that like it should be hidden. And I just decided I wasn't going to hide it. And so I knew right from the beginning that I was going to talk about it, and knowing that I was going to need to find a way to talk about it motivated me. And it kept me going because I knew like this is just going to be something. It's going to give me more empathy. It's going to give me more kindness, and it's going to help me relate to the people who come to me. So for years, since 2010, I've been working with makers and artists, and the number of makers and artists who work with me who have either chronic illness, like chronic pain, like fibromyalgia, or chronic fatigue syndrome, or they're recovering from cancer, or they're suffering depression or anxiety, the number of those people I work with is huge. It's a huge percentage of people end up telling me, actually, I'm dealing with this thing, and your whole gentle way of talking about it was appealing, because I can't do hardcore boot camp, just pound it out kind of stuff. So that's the other thing kept me going, is thinking about you. Now, as you are thinking about this, hopefully not right now, maybe at some point in the future, and you're like, day after day, just getting out of bed is hard, I want you to think of two things. The first one is, make sure you know exactly what you need to do in your business. Make sure that you're taking your big goals and you're breaking them down. Here's the thing. Just having a big list of tasks to do is not motivating. Knowing that it's leading to something big that you care about so much is super motivating. So you need to make sure that at least some of your week or hours is spent on doing stuff you super care about. And that's why I'm always talking about setting goals and being clear about goals. So first, set a goal that you super care about, break it down into a 3-month chunk, then get super clear about all the actual actions you need to take to make that happen. And of course, you're not going to know all of them. Some of them are, you're just guessing, right? You're just experimenting. And then each week, get clear on what actions you'll take this week. Then each day, decide a couple of them on your day. Now you're going to be working on the stuff, the in and out stuff of your business that's not directly related to a goal, like writing product descriptions or making products and uploading them. Those might not be directly related to the big goal you super care about, but it'll be easy to get up and get started on that when you know you're working towards something bigger. And it's going to be easier to get started on it when you know exactly the tasks you need to take. It'll be much less overwhelming. If you need help with this, you can check out my book at tarasweiger.com/map. I walk you through the process of getting clear about where you want to go big picture and then breaking it down into chunks. And then there are monthly reviews. So you can say, what did I do this month? What am I going to do next month? Maybe you overestimated all the things you could get done in a month. So you're going to work on them the next month and reassess your expectations. Maybe you didn't think you would get as much done as you did, so readjust your expectations. Thing is, it's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process of figuring out what you can get done and what actually makes progress and where your goal is going, if you're getting closer to it or not. So you can check out tarasweiger.map to help you with that. So that's number one, know exactly what you need to do. The next thing I want you to think about is your why. Why are you doing this? So I think I've talked about this before on the podcast. So your why, there are usually two sides of it. There's your internal mission for what you're doing and your external mission for what you're doing. And when I say internal, I mean, what are you doing for you? So do you want to have a business because, in my case, I want to pay my family's bills and let me and Jay both pursue careers we're super excited about? That's my internal mission. Yours might be, I want to get paid fairly for my work. I want to be home to homeschool my kids. I want to be able to take a year-long maternity leave, whatever it is. That's your internal mission. It's what you're doing for you and your family. Your external mission is what you're doing for the world, right? Like, I want to help you guys not feel so alone as you work in your creative handmade businesses. You might want to provide beautiful mugs that bring cheer to someone's life, or gorgeous jewelry that lights someone up when they see it, or jewelry that makes people feel good about being eco-conscious and responsible in their decision-making. Whatever it is you want to bring to other people, that's your external mission. So when mornings are hard or evenings are hard, think about that. Look at not just why you're doing it for you, but focus on your external mission, or focus on the people in your life that your business and your work is helping. So we're talking specifically about using your work to get you out of bed in the morning. Obviously, your kids needing to be fed, your dogs needing to be walked will often actually get you out of bed. But in order to keep you motivated and keep you working, which I think is where the heart of this question came from, think about, who are you helping? Who are you serving? Make it not about you. Because that's the thing. I feel like my experience of depression and anxiety makes it all about me and makes me very internal. And like, the focus is always on me. How am I feeling? Why do I feel like this? And the more I can get out in the world and think about the other people that my work impacts. And if you're an artist and you're thinking, well, but my work doesn't help anybody, it brings joy, it brings light, it brings silliness or goofiness or color. It brings something to the world. The world needs your voice and your artistic talents in it for the people who will see it and love it, and it will make them happy. So that's what I want you to focus on. Know exactly what you need to get done, and then tap into who you're making it for and why you're making it for them. I would love to know what you do to get out of bed in the morning. I asked this on Instagram, and I got some coffee and knitting and talking to friends, some good answers. So tell me in the, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can tell me in the comments below. If you're watching it on, or if you're listening to it on iTunes, you can click over to my site, Tara Sweiger, or tell me on Instagram with the hashtag Explore Your Enthusiasm, which is what all the listeners use when they share what they're doing when they listen. So explore your enthusiasm. Tell me what gets you up in the morning. I'd love to talk about this. A little teaser of what's coming up. Many of you filled out my survey, which you can find at tarasweiger.com/survey. And the overwhelming thing I heard is that you want to talk more about money. So starting in March, starting next month, March 2017, all month, we're going to talk about money. All month. We're going to talk about profitability. We're going to talk about accounting software I use and like. We're going to talk all about money. So it's going to kick off with talking about income reports in handmade businesses. I did a study last year, not last year, 2 years ago, where I asked people to report anonymously about their income. Then I shared those results with you. We're going to do that again in March. And I am remaking Pay Yourself, the class, because so many of you asked me to bring it back. So that's what's coming in up in March. If you want to hear that, then be sure you subscribe either on YouTube, if that's where you're watching it, or in iTunes. Subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, give it a thumbs up, let other people know that you're enjoying it. And thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. And I hope you have an enthusiastic week full of really great mornings. Okay, guys who are watching live, welcome. Leanne points out that in my morning list of things I do, right, like coffee, meditate, read, getting dressed isn't in there. And that's true. Getting dressed comes after all of that usually. I usually do all of that in my flannel PJs because that's most comfy. And then I get dressed if I'm going to do this or if I'm going to go out to Starbucks to work. Yeah, but getting dressed isn't always in there because I don't always get dressed. So thanks, guys, for being here. Does anybody have any questions who's watching live? I will go in and check. If you are watching on the page on my website, because you're a Starship or Patreon member, you can leave it in the chat room below. There should be a chat room below. I'm gonna go to it. Leanne said she had an epiphany. I want to hear it. If you're watching on Instagram, leave your comment here. We are gonna go in about 5 minutes, but if you want to tell me what keeps you going in the morning. So if you're just joining us, I just finished recording episode 147 of the podcast. Yes, Leanne said, I just realized I need something planned for my day. My husband does not. Yes. This is the other thing I meant to say, is that some people have a harder time in the morning and some people have a harder time in the evening. So if you're a morning person, make your list of the things you need to do in the evening before. Like, not if you're a morning person, the opposite. If you have a harder time getting started in the morning, make a list of the things you need to do the night before. So when you go to bed, you know what you're going to work on the next day. If the evenings are harder for you, then stop working, rest, and make your list in the morning when you get up. I'm going to scroll back. Sky Lucking asks, how many hours a week do you work? I didn't see that earlier. I will answer that in just a minute. I want to read what everybody said. I've completely lost my routine after being off my day job for over 2 years, struggling to get it back. Any ideas? Write down what you want your routine to do, and tomorrow start doing it. And look at if you really need it, and just add one thing at a time. So like you probably always make coffee or tea. I mean, almost everybody drinks something, right? You always brush your teeth. So tie your new habits into the things you already do. It's my best advice. And that's backed up by science. The book Power of Habit, he talks a lot about habit loops. So you just want to make your routine a habit so you're not having to make yourself do it each day. So pick the things that you do already, tie your new thing into that. So for me, it was like I didn't want to be on the internet first thing. So when I make my cup of coffee, I don't pick up my phone. I don't pick up my phone now until 10-ish. I pick my cup of coffee and my book and my journal, and I either journal right then, but often it's hard to journal and drink my coffee. So I read my book and drink my coffee, and then I journal. Knitting day drives me nuts. We'll need to discuss for his retirement job. Yes, such a morning intention for the night. I like that. Peak Time app will help figure out how to pace your work to your energy. So that's a good idea. There's an app called Peak Time, and it'll help you figure out when is your peak time to work. Do you have a referral book list in one place? It's a great question. No, but I'll tell you what we're working on, Leanne. This was somebody's suggestion in the survey. For Starship captains, we're going to make resource guides on every topic that I talk about. So time, social media, and all the book references, referrals I've made will be in one place. on that topic. So like habit forming, time wrangling, social media. There'll be a resource guide for each of those, and it'll have all the books I've mentioned. It'll also have links to all the podcast episodes in the individual class lessons where I've done that. That will be in the Starship for Starship captains, because you guys have access to all the lessons. So it'll just tell you like lesson 2, craft your marketing or whatever. And then I think what we're going to do is for email subscribers, if you've subscribed, we'll make the resource guide there, and they'll just have links to podcast episodes and then suggested classes. You love the resource guide idea. If somebody else's idea, I really appreciate it. Jenna May made, I've interrupted sleep insomnia. So my priority lately has been to get at least 6 hours of sleep. Yes, good. Okay, so Sky Lucking said, how many hours do I work a day? Keep in mind, if you guys have a handmade business where you're making products, your day's going to be different. So that's why I don't talk a lot about either what I make in money or how many hours I spend, is because your life is going to be different than mine, because your business model is probably different than mine. I started typing in model where I'm trying to type in the class I've got to start. So with that in mind, you guys, I'll be honest, I really, I don't get up very early at all. So I usually start working. Oh, here's the other thing. Jay, or having one part really threw me off. Jay goes to work from noon to 5, and then Monday, Tuesday, and then noon to 6, Wednesday through Saturday. So I work those hours. Now that his car is fixed and I have my own car, I've been getting up earlier and going to Starbucks. So like 10 to 4 usually. On Wednesdays, of course, I do the Starship chat all day. That goes from 11 to 4. It goes from 11 to 1-ish, and then 2 to 4. And then I'll maybe work for another hour until 5. So that's probably my longest work day. And sometimes I take off a day a week. So like I worked last weekend, so I took Monday off. When I'm off, I'm like try to be totally off the internet at least one day a week. Usually that's Sunday. Yeah, so I don't know how many hours a week that would be. 12 to 5 some days, 10 to 4 other days, and 11 to 5 on Wednesdays. And then some days just totally off. I'm a really big slacker. Yes, I wouldn't either if it weren't for having kids to go to preschool. Exactly. It's not really that I sleep in late. It's that my morning routine takes a little bit longer time. Oh, look, somebody just sent me a 1099. That's good news. Okay, so I have to now go to my next recording, which is why I opened up my email. I want to thank you if you've been watching, and if you are if you're a patron or a Starship captain, thank you so much for being here. I love hanging out, and I will talk to you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.